The U.S. and China are home to the world's two largest economies, and their economic ties reach far beyond their borders. As global conditions shift, what might help guide this relationship toward greater stability and shared benefit?
Daniel Garst is a lecturer at California State University, Fresno. He spent over a decade living and working in China and has published news and scholarly articles on China's economy.
As you look at the state of affairs right now between the U.S. and China, where do you see opportunities for cooperation despite all the friction?
That's hard to say. The problem with seeing opportunities for cooperation kind of depends upon two countries being interdependent and having something to offer each other, and also being able to exert leverage over each other to kind of compromise and get to that situation. At the current moment, part of the problem is that I don't really see where the U.S. has a lot of things to offer China or much leverage over China. The main form of leverage would have been China's export trade, and what they've been able to do, at least for now, whether that can be continued in the future. They were able to divert a lot of the trade they sent to America to other countries. Volume of exports to Europe has gone up. They're also doing transshipments from Vietnam, and Chinese companies are also doing FDI in Southeast Asia. So, and then there's stuff probably coming in from Mexico. So that source of leverage doesn't really exist anymore. I suppose one thing that China could definitely offer the U.S. and where there might be room for cooperation would be forms of foreign direct investment. And that could include areas like electric vehicles, green energy technology. The trouble, of course, is we have an administration that's not terribly interested in that type of stuff at the moment, but down the future, 3 years down the road, that could be a possibility.
You get the sense from the Trump administration that they've got all the cards in their hand in kind of how they handle all their relationships with different countries. But you don't see that with China.
No, not at all in the case of China. And what's overlooked here in the discussion, yes, China was relying on the U.S. market, or we should use that in the past tense. But the U.S. also is very dependent on Chinese imports rather. Imported goods from China. Not just kind of the stereotypic stuff like board games, dolls, all that sort of thing. But one thing that hasn't received a lot of attention in the press are transformers. We import a lot of transformers, or we did. I haven't looked at the data lately, but China was a big source of transformers, and of course those are going to be critical for redoing our grid. Grid in America is aging. It needs a lot of new gear and equipment, and we don't produce those things right now. It will take years to get that manufacturing up to steam. So that's a big card that China holds in their hand. And of course, another card they had was the farm imports card. And they found, of course, other sources for soybeans, including ones which are less expensive than American crops in Brazil and Argentina. So.
One other area where I see is the Paris Climate Accords. You saw China and the U.S. kind of coming together and leading the rest of the world. Do you see, and I know in this climate right now, maybe not climate change, but see an avenue where the two countries can work together, where we saw it in that example?
Well, it's hard right now. I would think again in the future that we could work together to tackle climate change. That would be one area of cooperation.
But what does that do to somebody like you who spent time there in China and recognizes that once you get past government, it's actually people and
it makes me very sad. Yeah, it makes me very sad. I think that's what's going to happen is we're going to have more interaction between different business firms and private actors, and That would also include like foundations in America. And that sort of exchange could be very, very useful.
What would you like to see in terms of U.S.-China relations, maybe 5 years out, 10 years out? What would make you smile?
For us to get back to a more cooperative relationship. And I think there's a possibility for that. I mean, in 5 or 10 years, things could change dramatically, both in Beijing and the U.S. We should welcome Chinese firms to come into America and, build car factories. I mean, BYD and there have been some Chinese companies who have done the FDI thing, foreign direct investment. One is Fuyao Glass. That company is, they bought up abandoned factories in Ohio, and they're producing high quality automobile glass, and they're doing quite well. So
the U.S. needs to put up the open for business sign, basically.
well, I think if we want to compete with China, we should invest less in tariffs and more in like industrial subsidies and support. I mean, two can play that game. And that's why I'm rather disappointed with the current policies we have. But, again, down the road, things can change.
Yeah. Daniel, thank you so much. Appreciate it.